So talk to me about meditation for people who don't do meditation. What are the most common excuses you hear when you're talking to people? My one, I've said it myself, I hear it a lot. I just don't have time for meditation. I don't have time to invest
Yeah,
in these things, which is complete nonsense. I realize that, but I still say it. And I say, oh, I wish I'd dedicate more time to it. But I put that excuse out there. What are the
yeah,
ones do you hear? And can
yeah,
you do a bit of myth busting of like, well, it's 20 minutes twice a day. You've got time for that.
yeah, absolutely. From a practical point of view, yeah, it's actually 2.4% of your day. All right.
2.4%.
Yeah, the maths has already been done. And so I would say to anybody, if I was to look at your phone and your screen time, would that fit into that straight away? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To which the answer would be, I would say almost guaranteed more than that. But it's not even that really, because it's all a question of value. You know, if I said to you, Alex, I need you to meditate 20 minutes a day for twice a day for 30 days, and I'll give you £1 million if you do that. Would you do it?
I would do that.
You would do that because suddenly it's a value to you.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you can remove stress and anxiety and overwhelm from your life, and your mind goes back online again, and you start to feel happier and more contented, your baseline level of happiness has gone up, and your connection with other people has gone up, and your anger has gone down, all those kind of things, right? All those kind of things. That's what that would give to you. And yet, for some reason, people don't or haven't seen the connection of the value of that. If you're the biggest asset that you have in your life is your brain, it is the number one asset in your life, because you could do without half your body and still be alive. All right, but your brain has to be looked after, because it determines your entire reality, and it determines the quality of your life. And yet somehow there's, like I say, there's a disconnect between people seeing that this is such an important asset, but 250 quid for a meditation course is too much.
It's interesting you say it or you frame it like that. Do you find people, once they've dedicated some time to meditation and made that link, do you find people ever giving it up? And then one of my previous guests called it a veil of forgetfulness, that we almost forget. We know there's huge benefits. We know the time is well spent and it's worth it, and that there is value there. And yet we still almost forget that it's there. And we know how to make our lives or our brains or our work that a little bit easier. And we forget to do it, and we choose not to do it. And it's understanding that.
Yes. Yeah. And it's kind of, because I rarely miss meditations these days. At the very outset, I would do one, but mostly 90% of the time it's two, because I've worked really, really hard at that. Now, on the rare occasions, maybe I'm traveling or something like that, or maybe it's just like a massively busy weekend. It's more difficult in the weekends when you've got more time and you have less structure. And you suddenly realize that maybe you haven't meditated for 3 days, but you're feeling out of sorts. You're like, yeah. And I always look at it as a mental force field. I've mentioned that before, but the force field needs recharging. Okay. That force field against all the stuff that's going to impact the quality of your life, because that shit will never stop coming in at you. It will never stop. So the only way to keep it out is to recharge it. And when you don't, you can start to feel the stuff happening in your head. And that's what people report. They'll say, oh yeah, I did it for a couple of weeks and felt great and brilliant. And then I thought, oh, I don't need to do it anymore. And then within a week, I was having a panic attack. And it's like, well, it's the same as going to the gym. Everything about meditation is directly analogous with going to the gym. Yeah, I got myself really thin and ripped and muscly, so good, I'm there now. So I just went back to where I was before. I'm doing what I was doing before. And lo and behold, I'm not ripped and muscly and slender anymore. It's that thing. So there's a number of things. So I think first of all, people are not making it a priority. They don't see the value of it. It's just so strange. If I told you all those things that it did for you in meditation, and I said that is all in this pill, and this pill would cost you £100 a month, and it would take away all those things and give you all that stuff, would you buy that pill? I would be the richest man on earth. Right?
I've seen that analogy with the gym as well. It's like if you could take a pill and it could make you better looking, more energetic, live longer, thinner, all these things, would you take the pill? And it's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer, and yet there still is a chasm between people taking the step, keeping that routine going. And
right. The only difference between the gym and that is the gym actually does take an active doing, whereas meditation does an active not doing. I would say, but many people are very scared of silence. They're scared to look into that place deep inside, or they're scared to even acknowledge that it's almost there. And I think that counts for a lot. It's that thought of starting to do the work.
They did a study recently with men and women. I can't remember what the split was gender-wise, but you can either sit there for 10 minutes in silence without your phone, or you can receive an electric shock and get your phone and go back on your phone straight away. And the more people took the shock and were then entertained again and getting those dopamine fixes rather than just sitting in silence. I believe it was for 10 minutes. And I think the men might have been worse than the women. And it just shocked me and let me get my dopamine fix from my phone again.
Well, I can't even start on that because that would be another hour. Seriously, and all my courses or anything I do, I am known for being the person. Do not come in to the room with a phone because I need you present. I absolutely have to have you present. And I think it's responsible for this. It's the pandemic that nobody talks about. Really, I think. It was a brilliant comedian on, I don't know if you've seen it doing the rounds, very sweary, American guy. And he says, back in the day, we never talked about mindfulness. He said there was never mindfulness because you were just mindful. Because he said, if you were on a bus, you sat and watched the condensation. If you're waiting for somebody, you just sit and wait. So by our very nature, we were mindful. Well, now we had to give it a label because it's now something that people want to achieve. But that's actually our nature. And if you look at a cat or a dog, all right, look at anything in nature, really, nature's pretty chill until it's not, all right? A cat sits entirely in the present. Entirely. It does not concern itself about what's going to happen next Wednesday. Or the fact that somebody doesn't concern itself, the fact that it's got half its fur on. And it might be as ugly as hell. Those skin cats, those sphinxes, that everyone thinks are really ugly. Well, that cat does not give two fucks. It's just like, I've just been a cat. I'm just doing my thing. All right? And every now and again it will get frantic or it will need something. And then it will go back to its state of calm. So that calm is our nature. That's within every single human being. It's a universal experience. But the problem is we've just piled a whole pile of stuff on top of it. And so people think that they're trying to achieve calm. They're trying to get to calm. And they forget that actually it's there already. You just have to remove everything else.